dark, creatures crawl into the underworld. Afterlife, an abyss protects you. In the light, goddess of the sun brings you life. A deity, best it is her name. Come learn the ways of man, become one with the sand. The fate is in your hands. It's time to fight. You will rise, not fall. Never lose hope on the ground. We are one for all. The truth will always conquer. Capture the earth, chasing the mark. Get like mystical formation. Turn on the walls, beat on the drums. Let us claim this is war. In the dark, a river flows. The Nile is so big, power. A morning star is seen in our sight. In the light, find your desert altar and your shrine. Look for peace, defeat the enemy. Run to the obelisk, defend this legacy. Fly to your destiny. It's time to fight. You will rise, not fall. Never lose hope on the ground. We are one for all. The truth will always conquer. Capture the earth, chasing the mark. Get like mystical formation. Turn on the walls, beat on the drums. Let us claim this. We rise, reach for the sky. Hold on to your weapons with pride. We rise up higher. Conquer the ark. Get ready to fight for your life. We rise up. We're the kings, we're the queens. We're the gods, goddesses of this animation. Turn on the walls, make it our mark. 'Cause we're the kings, we're the queens. Let's win this war. In the dark, creatures crawl into the underworld. Afterlife, an abyss protects you. In the light, goddess of the sun brings you life. A deity, best it is her name. Come learn the ways of man, become one with the sand. The fate is in your hands. It's time to fight. You will rise, not fall. Never lose hope on the ground. We are one for all. The truth will always conquer. Capture the earth, chasing the mark. Get like mystical formation. Turn on the walls, beat on the drums. Let us claim this is war. In the dark, a river flows. The Nile is so big, power. A morning star is seen in our sight. In the light, find your desert altar and your shrine. Look for peace, defeat the enemy. Run to the obelisk, defend this legacy. Fly to your destiny. It's time to fight. You will rise, not fall. Never lose hope on the ground. We are one for all. The truth will always conquer. Capture the earth, chasing the mark. Get like mystical formation. Turn on the
Hello, 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 governors. Welcome to Osiris League Season 8 Playoff Group Stage Round 3. I'm your host, Plato Gaming caster and content creator for Rise of Kingdoms, and casting alongside me today is Dirty Dan, a fellow content creator and first-time caster. Thanks for being here with me, man.
Thanks for having me, guys. Very excited to get onto a guest cast with you, Plato. Super excited.
Yes, sir. Super excited to be casting alongside you. We are now in our final day of the playoff group stages, where each of the teams will have their final chance to solidify their place in the round of 16 and to continue competing for the title of Osiris League champions. The first match we are casting today will be in the realm of Horus Group H. VITA from Kingdom 1500 versus A18 from Kingdom 1818. Both teams are currently 1-1 record-wise, and they have both won against 93Z, but have lost against JST. So with JST boasting a 2-0 record, this game will determine who will make it out of the round of 16 with JST and who will get eliminated. With both their seasons on the line, let us see who will rise to the top in this match. Dirty Dan, what do you think of this matchup here, VITA versus A1818?
I think it's going to be, with it being all on the line, I think it's you're going to see the best of both teams. I think we are going to see a little bit of a wide margin potentially towards the end of the match. VITA's just been looking very crisp and strong. A818 has some pretty good weight on their team, but from things that I have been watching, don't look very sound in terms of some of the technical aspects. And especially with last week, VITA coming very close to defeating JST in A818, having a little bit of a wider margin again on their match against JST. Potentially look for for VITA to pull away here, but I would not sleep on A818 with all of the weight that they have on their team.
It is going to be a nail biter here for sure, because both of these teams, they need this win. 1-1 record. And for those that don't know, this is the group H in Horus, with one of the teams for sure being out and 93Z being 0-2, JST being 2-0, these two teams being 1-1. This is essentially their ticket to the round of 16, because in this group, only the top two teams advance to the next stage. So we will have to see if it'll be VITA with their strategies, or as you said, A818 with their punching power. We saw both teams against JST. We could use those matches against JST as kind of the indicator of how each of these teams did. We actually casted A818 versus JST week 1, and JST definitely kind of, it handled that match. The match against VITA, though, I believe you casted that last week on your channel. How was that match, JST versus VITA, and how did that play out between the two teams?
That match was absolutely nuts. Both teams came out swinging. Surprisingly enough, VITA taking it to JST in the very early stages of the match. So dealing with strong accounts and developed accounts does not seem to be an issue for them. But that match was absolutely nuts. Both teams gave it all they had. There was a little bit of sneaky tactics used from VITA. I believe it was on the second arc spawn to try and disrupt JST from getting that. So you're going to see some tricks pulled here. I think we might even see something from A18 similar to what we saw last week in the DVL versus 60MX match. Maybe pulling a master strategist and trying to disrupt that obelisk game. That move is absolutely wild. And if you aren't ready for something like that, that could really just throw your entire plans into disarray, and it could be hard to recover from. So I would expect to see both teams throwing everything they can in this win or go home.
There's like this dilemma, right? Where should we do this brand new strategy where they're not expecting it, perhaps sacking the first arc for an obelisk capture with smashes strategies and some marches in the outer lane, or should we go with the standard truth? This is what we've been running. This is what we know. So I've seen kind of both play out. When those home run plays hit, it's amazing to watch. But when they don't, you just question if you played standard, would you be able to win that game? So it'll be super interesting to see how A818 and VITA both go into this. If there were a team between these two, Dirty Dan, which one do you think would do the more funkier plays between the two?
Oh, that's a tough call. I mean, I think I would have to say A818, just based on what I watched from them last week. I think with them being able to handle the amount of pressure that JST put on them, those first 10 minutes and leading up to the first arc were absolutely nuts. And then after the first arc was captured, everything really kind of settled. So it was insanely fast paced. I think VITA or JST was expecting to put VITA on their back foot, but I think with that confidence that VITA has going into this match with how well they did against JST, I think that they might say, let's play a little bit more standard and kind of take that more of a conservative strategy to what you alluded to. And probably A18 is going to look to make the bold move here, is what I would predict.
Alrighty, well, as we get into the match here, we have VITA in the top left corner, rather. 1500. They have all teleported in here. And then we have A818. I'm just going to call them 1818.
Yeah, better.
A818 is a mouthful. So we're going to call them 1818 from Kingdom 1818. Both teams here having some heavy hitters, but I saw a 79 million power player. Dirty Dan, what power do you think you should be? What power should you aim for to play in Osiris League usually?
Ideally, I would say 100 million. Can you sneak away with being a little bit lower of a power? Absolutely, but you're going to have to then start digging into your bag a little bit. I would say anything upwards of 100, 110 million. I've been on, and as very much as you are as well, we're both sitting around the same power right now at about like 85, 86 million. And yeah, you're gonna have to start digging into that bag for healing speed. So if that's something that you're okay with, then, and it doesn't really matter the power, more so of the account development, especially what we're seeing now with armaments being put into play. Awakened equipment is so huge now. That's something that JST that I noticed last week with having marches on the field with 350,000 troops. So that'll be something to key in as well. So 100 million power, I think, is usually just around the sweet spot, though.
Alrighty, as the gates are about to fall here, let's see the sentry placements. VITA using energetic right away, and no response energetic from 1818. Interesting. Oh, there you go. As soon as you talk about energetic, let's talk about energetic here. Why do you think both teams, or teams usually, open up with energetic in the beginning of the match?
To my knowledge, I believe it gives you 3 full skills in arc. I think I want to say it's upwards of that 7 to 8 point range to make you use it comfortably. I've never been how do you say it? I've never been the skill user on any of my arc teams or OL teams, so it's quite hard to manage, especially as you're getting into the later stages of the match when you can use things like Valiant Stand or Tear Down, which we've been seeing quite a lot of since the kind of skill readjustments, and with those only being 1 point and kind of pretty cheap to use, but getting a lot of value out of it. So definitely opening with energetic seems to be the new meta play, but how teams manage using energetic later in the matches, I think, will kind of make or break you, especially for those mid fights.
There you go. As we start to see the rallies come out, it looks like we have 2 Outpost rallies coming from VITA, and all 4 obelisks are being rallied from both teams. So that counts for the 10 rallies coming out here. So you can kind of see the distributions here. Yeah, what were you saying, Dirty Dan?
Say one thing to note with VITA, just they are a very diligent Outpost team. So even opening with those Outpost rallies, you will see them putting pretty consistent pressure onto them, even outside these opening stages of the match.
And that's definitely one thing that's super underrated with Osiris League, is the importance of the Outposts. Sure, losing one or one outpost might seem insignificant, 30 points per minute. But over the course of time, if you don't have your outpost, that is a lot of point per minute output that you're losing. So those games that we've been seeing, that we've been casting here on the channel, that's been less than 1k differential, a lot of it did come down to outpost captures. There's also a hidden benefit of capturing outposts where your opponents have true vision of the Ark of Osiris. We could go ahead and look at the outposts here. You do have true vision of Ark of Osiris with an outpost if you have all three of them. But if you capture an outpost during the mid fight, then they actually don't know where Ark is at all times. So some people use that to hide the Ark. We're starting to see these cavalry rallies come close to these desert altars. It'll be pretty interesting to see if they choose to cancel to pressure the desert altar, or if they continue on towards obelisk, which this rally looks like from VITA it is going past the desert altar here. And it looks like we're going to be starting to have these first couple of entanglements near the desert altar, these initial desert altar fights. To me, it looks like VITA kind of has positioning advantage. What do you think, Dirty Dan?
Yeah, a little bit. I think you don't want to overextend too much on these opening plays. We did see 1818 just cancel there. What it looks like in I see some archer troops coming out of it. I think there was a infantry-led rally, but 1818 has canceled the rally to get a little bit more troops front and center. And this is kind of similar to what I saw last week with VITA, where they were kind of getting pushed on the first desert altar fights, but were able to pretty soundly clear out the open field. So it's going to be interesting to see how this will progress here.
Yeah, from my perspective, it looks like 1818 here. They're not... The VITA murder ball got there so fast that they're not even contesting the desert altar right now. They're kind of shielding the desert altar with their murder ball. In the meanwhile, on the other side, 1818 and VITA looks like it's going to be a coin flip when the desert altar opens in about 30 seconds here. If 1818 is actually able to hold this murder ball, it looks like VITA actually have more people in front of the desert altar of 1818 right now.
Yeah, clearing it out nicely. Very similar. It looks kind of even now. Those altars opening in a little less than 30 seconds. See if one thing to also keep an eye on these initial fights is if there are proper garrisons ready to sneak in there and hold for a proper hold.
Let's see if we see some Heracleuses out in the open field here. I see two coming from 1818. Desert altars are now open. 1818 able to get in there with their garrison. So even though they lost the open field here, they're at least able to stall and contend with the desert altar here.
Been seeing that really a lot too from the matches that I've been watching. A lot of Heraclius YSS. It seems to be the go-to on a lot of these structures, or at least the home structures for a lot of these teams.
Let's talk about that. The garrisons, Heraclius YSS. I guess the biggest thing about Heraclius YSS, right, is you're able to fill with any troop type, and it won't be detrimental towards your garrison. I'm guessing they have the leadership set on there as well, which gives stats to all troops. So in a situation like this, you know, if you had an open field murder ball, any one of those marches could get into that structure, because right now you don't really care about troop type. All you care about is being able to fill with whatever you can here. VITA able to take the desert altar, delay the desert altar, take and potentially take first capture points from 1818 is going to be huge here. And as you said, let's see if they have a garrison up and available, and if they could hold the structure. It does look like, though, 1818 able to take the sky altar of VITA in response. So the reason why their desert altar hold was kind of compromised is because it looks like they invested into this outer lane. Dan, what do you think of the inner lane versus the outer lane in the early stages of the game here? In Ark of Osiris, like I've seen quite a couple of teams kind of take these structures, for example, and make the opponents kind of decide if they rotate mid because there's only 5 minutes 30 seconds till the Ark spawns, or if they commit to taking back the outer lane structures rather.
Yeah, I thought it last week while I was watching you and Brian cast that. I thought it was a really good point that you made on these outside structures. I think it's a sound strategy. Just to again to at least put the thought into someone's mind that okay, now I'm going to have to use a little bit more of my resources to take something back that I'm already supposed to have, and then delaying that thought of going into mid, or at least just having that little bit of a longer march. So I think that is something that we'll probably see a little bit more often as we progress into these later rounds.
Yeah, it'll be super interesting. It looks like both teams, though, their outer altars at least are safe, so none of that shenanigans in the outer lane coming here. Overall, it looks like both teams playing super standard. VITA having the advantage with them being able to capture this desert altar for a little bit, delaying the first occupation points of the desert altar, and they'll be able to get an extra minute of point ticking with their altars compared to 1818. I mean, it might not sound like much, but 150 points is sometimes the difference between these arc matches.
That is very significant, I believe. I mean, everything, all points matter in this, even provisions, outposts. Like, you want to do everything you can to just keep all your points at home. Anytime you're losing and flipping points, you know, it's gonna hurt, it's gonna sting, and you will feel that later in the match. And then the next thing you know, you're down a couple thousand points, and now you're scrambling and saying, hey, we need to go get an arc.
1818 Sentry was found out and destroyed by VITA, so they don't really have any vision of how many marches VITA has going into this arc. We could go ahead and look at the vision from 1818. They see the temple, but they don't see the marches coming through. In the meanwhile, 1818 kind of just have full vision on what... I mean, rather, VITA has full vision on what 1818's doing here. It looks like VITA has a positioning advantage, rotating mid first, because some of these marches from 1818 had to be put into the desert altar to make sure that they recapture that, make sure that they get first occupation points. And it does look like a standard mid fight from both of these teams, so they're going to be duking it out for these this first arc here.
I got a question, Plot. I'm always curious. I've seen this quite a decent amount. People opting to leave hidden sentries there. Is there any reasoning for this? Is it be due to the respawn rate on the hidden sentries? Like I see that happening often, and I'm not sure, because I believe, if I'm not mistaken, that VITA sentry is still up in the back lines of 1818, and they're just letting that thing sit.
Yeah, they actually can't see the sentry unless they have their own sentry.
Okay.
So 1818, they put a sentry up, but this sentry was able to see the 1818 sentry, which is why now 1818 can't see the VITA sentry, because there's no sentry. It's kind of like it's hidden until there's another sentry that could see it.
Gotcha.
So that's why like having this initial positioning for this mid fight is super important, because you can also take out the sentries like VITA was able to do.
Yeah.
And as we start to see, I've been seeing a lot more matches where it seems like there's a murder ball, but then there's like one guy or two people dedicated to just making these marches low. I wouldn't go to sad face for this. I would, just keep them super, super low, keep them super, super red, so that, that march did sad face. These marches are sad facing. I've seen some teams just let the marches go to red so that they can't refresh for the mid fights. As we start to see total vision used by 1818, bogged down in response by VITA. We've been seeing a lot of bogged down from most of these teams. 1818 using Heaven's Grace, VITA also using Heaven's Grace. So a difference in skills here.
Slight
bogged down,
but not totally.
Yeah, both teams using Heaven's Grace. One team opting into total vision. One team opting into bogged down. From the skills, what team do you think would come out on top here? Bogdown versus Total Vision.
That's a tough one. They're very similar. I mean, I think when you're talking about stat perspective, I think they are very similar. That's a tough call. I honestly can't call that one. If you have any thoughts on that, as we see some of these mid marches starting to go, it looks pretty even.
The arc has spawned, so it's definitely going to come down to who gets first pull. VITA getting first pull is huge. It is the Joan of Arc to the south of the temple here. Looks like they have a pretty clean run out. It looks pretty clean from this Joan. Joan is down, but able to get a little bit of distance. And because they got first pull, the 1818 murder ball kind of got compromised, right? Because you usually beeline straight for the arc, but if you're beeline straight for the arc, you're not doing damage anymore, getting free hit by the people hitting you. VITA getting another pull. We have the Liu Che infantry carry. I mean, if there's any troop that could get the arc here, it would be Liu Che. Is that Liu Che Guan? Guan secondary. Very interesting.
Interesting play on that, yeah.
For those that don't know, Guan having the AoE silence, but I believe that character model is a Guan. But the damage dealt by the Guan is halved as a secondary, so...
Maybe opting to hide the Guan to keep silence on the field for a little bit longer. It's in trade-off for that little bit of extra damage as VITA kind of takes this arc. Now it's going to be curious to see, are they going to hold it? That is always the question.
I mean, if you were them, Dirty Dan, would you hold this arc?
I personally, and the styles of Osiris League that I've played, I do like holding arc, because one thing that I'm a big proponent on is dictating tempo. And when you hold the arc, you are truly in control of pretty much everything. You can cash the arc whenever you want, whenever your skills are ready. You can cash the arc in preparation with the timing to have an enemy desert altar or an enemy altar in that fact, and cause the timing disruption for future mid fights. So I am definitely a big proponent on holding that first arc for sure.
Agreed, especially when the state of the map is dead even. You could look at the points per minute, 590 to 590. Very rarely do you see every single structure generating points for each of the respective teams here. So if everything's even, the difference being the arc, you might as well just hold on that difference and see if you could take some of these structures. As we start to see the second round of energetic be used by VITA. I definitely, for that mid fight, I definitely like the Bogdown from VITA. Bogdown, the big change being that instead of only targeting 30 troops, it targets everyone inside of that circle. It also was increased from 30 seconds to now it is 60 seconds, so there is more time. And the big change is that it cuts healing by half, so the Bogdown actually countering the Heaven's Grace that 1818 used, and maybe that was the reason why VITA looked so clean in that mid fight there. We'll have to see how 1818 comes back. If you're 1818, you lost the arc fight, you went for arc, you're holding these structures now. What's the game plan for you, Dirty Dan?
One thing I always look at after first arc is have provisioners started. I think that's one thing that I've learned from watching Evil Empire as one EE8. Provisions, as we were talking about, underutilized aspects of arc with Outpost, provisions is huge. You can, if you start provisioning now, you can get somewhere up in the realm of a full arc for provisions. So I do see one provisioner out there for 1818, but that is it. So I don't think that'll be quite enough. But provisions is something that I would definitely start working on. And obviously you have to get a little bit more aggressive here now on taking some of these altars and just structures in general from VITA, even if it's the Outpost, and trying to delay any points per minute that you can.
And right on cue, 1818 taking control of both of VITA's altars is huge. You could check the difference of points, 290 to 530. Both altars rather falling for VITA. this is going to be a huge play if 1818 is able to hold these and kind of deny the points per minute here and potentially start gaining points per minute from the opponent's altars. This is exactly what 1818 needs to do. You know, start taking these altars. I think having a forward garrison would be huge instead of the Ashurbanipal, but you'll take what you have. Every single minute these structures are taken is minus 150 points to your opponents. So this is going to be huge for 1818 with the Sky Altar here and as well as the Desert Altar in the top side. VITA, even though they did capture the Ark, by the way, so they saw that, hey, 1818 starting to win the structure game. We won the mid game pretty heavily here, so it looks like VITA opting into this mid strategy. What do you think of VITA capturing the Ark here?
It's sound. I mean, it has to be a confidence on their end to say, hey, we're better at skills than you are, which again, that is so crucial. If your skill game is not on point, it could crumble your entire team and strategy and really put you behind. So I think VITA being a little bit confident here, knowing that they have the advantage with skills. So I think that, yeah, it's going to be a sound strategy. We have one team going for more of a mid and arc fight, and then the other team looking to opt more for structure game. So really good balance in terms of tactics right now. So this is looking to be a pretty nice match so far.
Yeah, VITA being able to recapture these altars. As you said, it's all about tempo, right? So VITA able to recapture these altars. They could probably have one more attack onto the Sky Altar, which they're doing right now. The marches here that recaptured their Desert Altar could probably start walking towards the Shrine of War, not even to take it, just to reset and put pressure on 1818. So I definitely think them holding them capturing this arc, even though, you know, we were talking about tempo, I still feel like the tempo with VITA capturing the arc at that moment is towards VITA's side. As you can see, the marches that were at the Sky Altar are now going towards the Shrine of Life. We have a rally set from VITA going to the Shrine of Life. I've been seeing a lot of these archer rallies in Ark of Osiris, and people have been saying, you know, cavalry is king in Ark of Osiris, but Ashurbanipal and Henry seems to be the rally of choice from VITA, at least.
Yeah, I've been seeing that a lot in general. I think the Asher is key because of those debuffs that he has, and maybe offering a little bit more, just in as opposed to the raw kind of damage that you're just getting with some of these cavalry rallies. I got to say that was a beautiful rotation from VITA, cashing the arc, taking back their Sky Altar, rotating down onto that Shrine of Life against 1818. Probably going to look to push those troops out once they're done with this assault, to zero them out and then start heading to mid, as we're starting to get around to that key time that people like to start heading in there.
5 minutes 30 seconds until arc spawns, and VITA has control of the outer Sky Altar here of 1818, the Sky Altar in this outer lane here. So now, as we were talking about, these marches that, you know, would have potentially been going mid, we're starting to see a lot of these 1818 marches now have to allocate their resources towards this outer lane, which is the farthest away you could be from mid. So I would be pretty surprised if 1818 has first rotation. I think VITA, in terms of tempo, we should start to see some of these mid marches start walking now, as right on cue we start to see some of these first mid marches coming from VITA.
Yeah, I think that outside lane like strategy is so clutch. That when you had mentioned that last week, I was like, wow, I never thought of that, but it really is such a deterrent, because whereas like if we were just looking at VITA on the bottom side on that Shrine of Life, they can simply push onto the cities or zero on the obelisk or whatever they want to do to refresh their troops and get back in a timely manner for mid. These guys who are trying to take back their Sky Altar, they're, even after they take back the Sky Altar, they're still going to have to spend that minute or so walking back to their cities to then send them out into mid. I love this play and tactic where we're seeing a little bit more assault on the outside structures, especially right before a mid fight.
Yeah, And I was reading chat. The 1818 outposts are always blue. We see this outpost of Seth in the bottom here. 30 points per minute. They're actually gaining points from 1818's outposts, and 1818 currently just not gaining any points from those outposts as we start to see the initial mid rotation coming from VITA here. As it looks like 1818 content on continuing on hammering on these structures. Desert Altar being attacked here. Sky Altar, looks like they have some marches there, but this Desert Altar is on the way to mid, so it's not exactly out of the way for these VITA players to just slightly go a bit more south and fill this structure. It looks like, as you can see, VITA, they're like, okay, we'll have some people fill this structure, some people rotate mid, and it looks like VITA from this case will be able to hold their Desert Altar and get first rotation mid, which is going to be huge for them.
Yeah, I like it. Again, this is exactly what I saw last week with VITA. They're very crisp, they're very sound, especially going up a beast against JST and getting punched in the mouth in those first few minutes and really keeping their composure. They don't let things like allow them to shake them. So the ability to stay composed, I think, is a very key thing with Osiris League, and just calling out that DVL and 60MX match, like what an ability to keep composure, getting Master Strategist thrown on you. And here again, we can see VITA just staying really composed and just taking it step by step.
This is very, very close. The garrison looking pretty low, but I think they should be fine. They have a full march of oh, there you go. We have a reinforcement march coming last minute. And this is one thing that I saw, especially during Grand Prix, is that these top teams, they could have rotated the people going mid here to this Desert Altar and just instantly wipe them, clear them. But there's just something about, like, even if there's only one troop left in a structure and you hold it, you still gain the same amount of points compared to if you decimated them. Mm-hmm. So because they were able to hold with kind of the bare minimum here, they were able to hold the Desert Altar without taking any pressure out of their mid rotation, and you could see how much advantage they have in this mid rotation. 1 minute left, and they are super ahead of 1818. 1818 still walking to mid here, still trying to get their murder ball up. If they don't come to mid soon, 1818 will be giving VITA another free arc.
You can see them, 1818 starting to get a little scattered now, getting annoyed at those poking marchers that are starting to, that are picking them off from the back. And that as you called it on the first arc as well, that's a good strategy. I've been kind of in that position a lot where I've been on the other side rotating, and I'm like, you know what, I'm just gonna sit here and pick these guys off until they start to really pay attention to me, and it just causes so much disruption leading into your arc fights that you really don't want, but sometimes you have to live with it, and we see it kind of paying off here for VITA.
As we start, Dust Up used by VITA. Okay. The murder ball from 1818 slowly encroaching on VITA here, as there is 10 seconds left until arc spawns. VITA with to the death, so Dust Up to the death used by VITA. No skill so far used by 1818.
Oh, man.
I don't know what the plan from 1818 is going to be. The murder ball already started, and there's no skills used by 1818. To the death now used by 1818.
That's that skill usage there. That's that skill usage, experience, maybe not being as composed. Why they're a little late on these could be also the skill points in general. Maybe not just having enough until that very end.
The sad Dust Up now used by 1818, so I'm guessing they didn't have enough skill points, to your point. Because if you use Dust Up that late, then that means you didn't have it earlier.
Yeah.
But you start to see the sad face train coming from 1818. We have the double C from VITA with the clean pull. Probably one of the cleanest pulls I've seen so far this arc of Osiris. There's just one guy.
With that thing.
this one Huoku Bing here just trying to damage this double C, but Honestly, just make it faster by making it half health. As we start to see these marches from 1818, the murder ball completely getting wiped. So now 1818 has to go from this outer lane. They have one march coming through, trying to deny this arc, because if VITA captures this arc, it's going to be a hard comeback, as Double C has now fallen, opening up the window for 1818. They have to get a pull here to deny 10 seconds, but VITA coming clutch, able to get the pull with a healthy Nevsky. That is huge for them, able to pull it closer and closer and closer to their structures, to their buildings, to their cities, making it so that VITA will be able to reinforce from their cities a lot easier here. The further and further this arc gets, the harder and harder it gets for 1818 here.
It's almost like a story in a sense. The farther away this arc gets from that mid, the farther away the victory comes out of reach for 1818. Very curious to see here if VITA is going to hold or cash. I think, correct me if I'm wrong, points are going to matter here for seeding, I think. So VITA might look to put it on and score as many points as possible here. I think. Correct me if I'm mistaken.
If JST loses their match against 9-3Z today, then I think points would matter.
Okay.
But because 9-3Z did lose against these two teams and JST beat these two teams, I'd be pretty surprised if JST loses to 93Z. No matter what, whichever team wins this game. For context, in case you weren't here in the beginning, both of these teams are 1-1 in their group. JST is in this group at 2-0. So JST's confirmed that they're going to the group stage, or they're going to the knockout stage. These teams here, being tied in record, are playing for their playoff lives. So it'll be really, really interesting to see if these teams can pull it out, or if VITA could continue to hold this lead. Having this arc is going to be huge. The point differential right now, honestly, is from the arc. You can look at the occupation score. It's dead even in occupation score. I don't think I've ever seen that before. The difference being the arc captured that first arc 3k points, and now they have another 3.5 in their pocket ready for them to take whenever they need to.
Yeah, this might look to get out of hand rather quickly unless 1818 can do something bold here. I think they're really going to need to pull a rabbit out of their hat, because there's so much control from VITA right now.
So if you're 1818 in this situation, you're the leadership. Everyone's like, oh my gosh, they won another arc. What do you tell your team? What are the steps to come back in this game with half the game left here?
I would like to think you gotta make an all or nothing call for the arc. I don't really know if there's much you can do. You would have to hold all altars indefinitely. You'd have to be provisioning, or else go get the arc. So I mean, to do any of those things is a tall task, which is why the first 10 to 20 minutes of matches are so crucial in setting the tone for the rest of the match, because now 1818 just really has to go for an all or nothing approach. Probably maybe master strategist, which is extremely bold, but they got nothing else to lose.
Yeah, they definitely have to make up the differences with the two arcs from structure somehow. Taking this Shrine of Life is a good first step. Maybe taking a step from VITA's playbook, and the Obelisk was taken by VITA. Interesting. But taking a page from VITA's playbook, taking these outposts, which have been generating consistently points for VITA. Meanwhile, the outposts for 1818 has been flipping back and forth between VITA and 1818. Taking these desert altars, they are attacking this desert altar here. They're doing the right things. They have their troops in the right places. Now the question is, will they be able to take them and will they be able to hold them? I haven't seen any forward garrisons at all from 1818. As I say that, I see Jan just walking around waiting for this sky altar. But instead of that Jan, I haven't seen any forward garrisons here.
Yeah, some of the more it's a little risky, but if you get a Hera YSS into one of these advanced garrisons, then man, are you going to be able to hold it? But if 1818 doesn't have one of those available, or even like a Gorgo, something that's a little bit tankier, something that can withstand the swarm, because the Jan Heras, they're meant to get up into an advanced position quickly, but they're not meant to hold, especially when you're having such little reinforcements behind you after, you know, whatever clearing out and swarming down the structure it's taken initially. So having a little bit more sustain or a little bit more shields on these advanced garrisons can definitely be beneficial. So I don't know if they're going to be able to take these structures and hold them soundly with just the Jan Heras.
And talking about the garrison is getting swarmed down here to 30k. So that's maybe what's been happening with 1818's garrisons is VITA just sees them out in the open field. Let's just insta swarm it, because now the structure here, there's a Guan garrison in there, and the Guan garrison does not hold up as VITA able to take the sky altar back. So, you know, good on 1818 for taking the sky altar. But in the meanwhile, they did also lose their Shrine of Life. And they didn't take their obelisk back in time, actually. So we have VITA players now teleported onto 1818's side. This is getting really, really messy.
Yeah, this is getting out of hand quick.
I saw that VITA took that the obelisk, and I'm like, okay, that's just a cheeky minus, 40 points, because 20 points per minute, 2 minutes. But they actually were able to teleport some cities in here. I'm curious to see if they're going to be able to wreak havoc here. Perhaps, interrupt some of these marches, distract the marches here. We were seeing marches from VITA attack 1818 on the way to mid. How about attacking as soon as you get out of your city from VITA here?
Total disruption. Total. And this is what I meant, where VITA is a very sound team. Even calling back to how you just saw them taking out that Jan garrison that was in the field. Just doing the little things in these arc matches is huge. Again, as they do it
taking
again.
Another Heraclius, yeah. They took out the Heraclius, so they're definitely on voice one. They're definitely, calling out, there's a garrison, let's swarm this. And they have a Jan in this Skeleton. This Skeleton is going to start generating points for VITA. So this is super, super bad for 1818, where we're saying they're down as VITA did capture the arc, by the way. VITA is up 2 arcs, and they're also up in points per minute. It's going to be really, really tough for 1818 to come back here if they're going to be losing points per minute.
I'm shocked to see no provisioners on for 1818. Like, 0. I mean, I know you kind of compromise, and it's always that catch-22. Well, are we going to allocate resources and not have these additional troops in the field? But you still have 3 cities back in your home territory where some of these guys could have been provisioning. The walk is like 2 to 3 minutes to get up into anything relevant anyway. So I'm really, really shocked that there wasn't even a try at provisions here, because they're just getting assaulted on all fronts, and they really need some help stabilizing this point differential.
Able to take back their sky altar. I will say about provisions, especially with the Tides of War format, is it's a lot more skill based than it used to be. Where before, when there wasn't Fog of War, you could see wherever the caravan nodes are. But now you kind of have to know exactly where they spawn. There's kind of these sweet spots where they usually spawn, and if you don't know how to provision, you could be wandering out in the desert just trying to find this caravan node.
That is a good point. Yeah,
I think that's why there's been a lot less teams provisioning, and I think that's also why 1E8, as you were talking about, is like their provisioning is kind of out of this world, because their provisioners are just one of the best. And that's why they're you know, I've been seeing a lot less provisioners so far in this version of Osiris League than the previous version for sure, and I think it's because of that fog of war and the extra skill that you have to learn. As we start to see, this Desert Altar has a CPO garrison in it, better than Guan, but it does look like the VITA open field will be able to hold this Desert Altar. So VITA being able to take the opponent Desert Altar on the other side, able to hold their Desert Altar. The point gap is widening and widening, 440 points per minute to 100 points per minute from 1818. Look at this, all of the outposts, all three of them taken by VITA, and one of them is about to generate points. So they definitely have 1 to 2 players dedicated to just taking these outposts, and it's super underrated because one outpost, like these 3 outposts, 90 points per minute is more than a shrine, right? Shrine gives 80 points per minute, outposts give 90, and it's just tedious if you're not prepared for it as a team. If there's someone consistently taking your outposts, if you don't have outpost garrisons, if you don't have someone dedicated to holding your outposts, then it usually, because you know, usually teams are allocated, okay, this is going to be this inner lane team, this is going to be this outer lane team. Kind of getting out of your comfort zone and taking back these outposts is definitely, you know, maybe something that 1818 didn't have prepared here, as even their own obelisk here, even though it's only 20 points per minute, it is 20 points per minute. VITA just taking as many points as possible. As Arc is spawning in 3 minutes, we start to see the rotation coming from both teams. It does look like there is some presence coming from 1818. But VITA just always having the positioning advantage, always being in front of this temple so that their arc carriers can get a free pull. And this will potentially be the final arc of this match.
You can even see too a lot of the VITA. They're just everywhere. They're just they have that one guy in the back right now, kind of disrupting those marches, going into the middle yet again. All of these little things for VITA have just this is why we see the point gap the way that it is right now. One thing too, just to call out for on Outpost game is you have to identify these things if you are a serious Osiris League team. Like, it's as simple as watching one match to know that VITA goes for Outposts and that you need something at least properly garrisoned in there. So you can really kind of start to tell, not only from the pace and the rotations of how teams move, but on the analysis and how serious are they taking it and scouting some of these teams as they're getting ready for these matches.
It looks like they do have an Outpost garrison. Like they have a Heraclius YSS in there sometimes, but it's just getting swarmed down by the VITA players. Like they just have
too much pressure.
Potentially like 5 marches just straight up into these outposts. So as we start to see both murder balls staring at each other, waiting for the right time to get in here. Who do you think will win this mid fight, Dirty Dan? And chat, put in the chat, who do you think will win this mid fight? A818 or VITA? Dirty Dan, what's your vote?
I gotta go VITA. They've looked so good. I don't think that they're gonna let this one get away from them.
Yeah, I mean, if previous arcs are the to mention, although I would say it looks like 1818 have more numbers currently. VITA opting to push back here, so they don't have the dominant positioning that they did before. This is going to be a pretty even mid fight in terms of positioning, at least, which is the first step for 1818. Although, as you said, these marches in the back, I feel like this is like the cheeseburgering of Ark of Osiris, where players are just so annoyed because they have to walk mid, but at the same time you don't want to get hit for free. So like you're getting distracted.
There's gonna be a point where you're just like, I can't do this anymore, and you got to turn it and just attack.
There you go, mid fight starting. We got bogged down from both teams. Heaven's Grace used by both teams as well. So is Bogdown, is Heaven's Grace mirrored for these teams? As we start to see the sad faces come out, looks pretty even so far.
See who has the more numbers, the better accounts. Everything is somewhat even playing field with these skills. So
it does look pretty even here. Dust Up used from 1818. So 1818 now having a skill advantage. Arc is spawning in 3 seconds. It's a 50-50 right now. So it will come down to the pull. Who will get first pull of this arc? I don't think I see any 1818 marches trying to pull this arc.
I don't see any either.
As we see VITA yet again with the double C sprinting, and this pull looks pretty clean.
There it is. Got to get outside that bogged down circle. If that's still up there, it's down. And now he's going to speed up a little bit. Yeah, really clean arc pulls for VITA. Super impressive.
And that was the most contested arc that we've had, where 1818 was right there. They could have potentially gotten a clean pull as well. They had the presence, although the Murder Ball did end up losing at the end, but they could have had a pull, potentially pulled it far enough to where they could reinforce this mid fight. But now VITA having this arc of Osiris on their side is going to be absolutely huge for them. We saw that 1818 used up their full skill bar, so there won't be any master strategies play for them. This is going to be absolutely huge.
It's really a shame that 1818 wasn't able to get that, because I think if they were able to cap that quick enough, we would have maybe had an attempt at a fourth arc with potentially master strategists. That would have been a hell of an ending. But really a shame that we're kind of we're robbed of getting some of that action.
Yeah, it's VITA just being too clean with this arc pull. 48k on this double C, but 48k is all you need. Speeding through. There is one march. We got an XY with Justinian walking towards this arc, but you can see that from the vision of 1818, he doesn't even know where the arc is really, because they don't have their outposts. He's just kind of running blindly, like trying to find the needle in the haystack, although he did find it. They did find it.
There you go.
So able to find this last arc.
That's good intuition to know that arc had to have been there.
As we start to see VITA just having the presence of mind to keep like 6 marches around this arc. So all right, you killed the arc here, and now we have a completely healthy one. So it's just complete domination from VITA so far. Their building game has been strong. I mean, it's been back and forth with 1818, but it's been enough to where they're actually leading in the building game. And I think the big difference being these outposts just consistently being blue, able to take these desert altars when they need to, flip their desert altars, and hold their own altars as well. Whatever they do flip has been the name of the game for VITA. So VITA from 1500 looking super strong, and looking to potentially get out of this group with JST as the second seed from Group H. So
I'm gonna be excited to watch them going forward. I think that they've been kind of tested against a really strong team with JST. I think they know they go into these next rounds potentially, barring any setbacks on this current match. I think they go into this with a pretty big confidence boost, and knowing that they took down someone with some nice power behind them, and just knowing that they have very sound strategy and clean gameplay to hopefully make a deep run into this Osiris League.
Yeah, I definitely think they look really strong. 1818, I mean, they did pretty well, to be honest. It's just these mid fights. I feel like VITA had more the tempo unlocked this whole game. Like they brought the aggression towards 1818 to where like so close to the timer for when you want to rotate mid, to where 1818 was able to hold. But now with these half health marches, is like, we can't go towards Vita now. That's going to take an extra minute, and then we're going to sad face, and walk all the way back home. And then I think just the presence of mind from Vita, just to consistently kind of be in an internal timer and know when to push, and that kind of proved to be the difference so far. This arc, with the first 2 arcs, and then this third arc was just a great pull from them. So being super focused with these mid fights.
A lot of things too with mid fights that people have to understand as well. Like these marches don't get targeted on their own. So when you're in these murder balls, there is a skill aspect to being in there, being able to target a march. Which marches are you targeting? Being in voice and communicating, hey, there's a ZL Herman, let's take that out. Hey, there's a debuffing march, let's take that out. So chat, don't underrate the ability and skill of players in Vita to really cleanly kind of take care of this open field business, as they have done 2 weeks in a row against JST and now against 1818.
With the match against JST, how many arcs did they capture there? I know you casted that last match against JST.
I'm pretty sure they only got one. I think it had to have been one because the match was so close. My brain is a little frazzled right now. I can't remember clearly, but I'm pretty sure it was one. But yeah, just kind of calling back on that match too. I think it's funny how we saw Vita kind of pushing this, as you mentioned, tempo and putting it on 1818, where last week that was them. They were the ones kind of getting put on the back heel. But just doing it so cleanly this week, whereas JST had a little bit of shortcomings in their aggression last week. Vita, I think if this was Vita playing JST last week, Vita would have won. This match was extremely sound by them.
There you go. And that's a fun thing about Arc of Osiris, especially in these group stages, is you do have that leeway to lose that one game and continue on to the knockout stage. And as you continue to play with your team over and over and over again, you could start to improve and use these matches to sharpen your plan, your execution, your timings.
You make me think of that analogy, though. They steel sharpens steel. So that match against JST, that's why I'm excited to watch Vita going into these next rounds, because there does come a measure of rust with going into even when you come out of qualifiers, when you haven't really played anyone significant and you kind of just walk through those group stages, and then you get into playoffs, and now it's like, oh man, here's some real tough competition. It could really kind of catch you off guard, and maybe that's something that we saw here with 1818, where they just didn't have a lot of those really tough matches to kind of prepare themselves for the likes of JST and Vita.
There you go. As we start to see the map, full blue 1500, just conquering everything except for these obelisks, as the last bastions of hope from 1818. A pretty good run from them, but being in a group against Vita and JST is pretty tough. It's pretty tough, and I think Vita being good, it makes Horus a lot more interesting, because everyone has been saying Anubis is a realm to watch, is a realm to beat, with them having 960 and 2489, both those teams being finalists for Grand Prix, which was not only the international server, but including the Chinese server as well. So
I wouldn't sleep on Realm of Horus, guys. For those who are out there, I mean, you got Vita, you got JST. Our next match that we're going to be covering, Watch It Burn in 1718, with 1846, I should say. You had 93L upsetting Mimi, a massive power difference in that. You obviously have the other big player in here, 93T, so I wouldn't sleep on Realm of Horus. I think your Realm of Horus and Realm of Anubis are going to be pretty amazing to watch throughout their entirety. And also Realm of Bastet too, don't sleep on. There's going to be a lot of new up and coming top tier Osiris League matches coming up through those ranks as well. I've been kind of peeking in on best stat a little bit. Not really much sound matches, but I think as we progress into top 16, top 8, you'll see a lot more sound gameplay. But Realm of Forest, Realm of Anubis, definitely where it's at if you want to watch some high-end Osiris League gameplay.
As we start to see the cities getting swarmed here, the last bastions of hope from 1818.
The little cherry on top from VITA. Oh man.
This is equivalent to the playing game for Ark of Osiris. Playing for their playoff lives, but VITA just dominating. We could take a look at the Ark score, the occupation score, even the provision score by 38 points.
Visions matter. Visions matter, chat.
If you are losing from the 3 ways that you get Ark of Osiris points, then it's going to be pretty tough for you to win the game, as we start to see these VITA cities now getting swarmed down by 1818, having some fun here at the end of their season. What did you think of 1818? Like, what do you think of their prospective future in Ark of Osiris, potentially, and what could they work on and all that?
I think just practice this to me maybe looks like a team that has done a little bit of it but needs to just do a little bit more. And you have to remember too, with 1818, they're a newcomer to this Realm of Forest, and although Realm of Forest, Realm of Anubis, you're gonna see so much more technically sound teams, right? Like I had mentioned, I tried to stream Realm of Bastet match last week, and it ended so quickly because there was not a lot of technicality, not a lot of sound teams there. So I think as 1818 progresses, as they continue to practice, I think they'll get there, because you do see some things there that you do like to see. Their occupation game was pretty good. They have a nice aggressive push onto the opponent's structures. Their mid game is, I think, can be pretty solid and just needs a little bit of tweaking on the skill ends, and then obviously just trying to not get so disrupted from some of those timings that VITA was putting on them. But all in all, pretty sound performance from 1818. Not to throw any dirt, but I thought it was going to be a little bit of a wider margin, but it was a pretty fun match to watch. So some nice props from 1818 and really holding and hanging in there as their winner go home match.
You thought it was going to be a wider margin. They're doubling them in points right now. what kind of?
It's almost garbage time right now. So I kind of leading up to that third arc, or like right after third arc passes, is kind of when I'm like, okay, this is kind of done.
There was a 7K point differential. That's true. Going into that third arc, if they're able to capture that third arc, that'd be 4K points. There'd be a 3K differential, and then you try to master strategies that last arc, as you were talking about, would potentially be the play from 1818. But I think the play would be just not losing those first 2 arcs in the first place. You know what I mean? Where if you heavily go towards mid, and both teams did that first arc, where going into mid, we saw both teams having 590 to 590, meaning that they had all the structures captured. They're all generating points. So if you're going into that situation, then like whoever loses that arc really has the back foot, because you put all that pressure in mid, but you didn't gain anything from it. You know what I mean? Whereas they could have went to a desert altar or a sky altar, try to take some structures there, try to I guess counter it with the 4 altar gambit. But because they were not able to get that arc, VITA kind of ran away with this game.
Opening moves, so crucial. So such a tempo setter in these Osiris League matches.
These city swarms are going to make the scores crazy for both teams individually. If you did not get your 10K this match, then that's tough. Get your 10K, get your gold heads.
See some people pushing now for those special Osiris League avatar frames for most kills, and this is what the garbage time is for now.
There you go. So VITA being a second seed, in this realm of Horus, would it be safe to say that any first seed would kind of not want them in their bracket in their first round of 16 match?
Yeah, I mean, I think as you go into, I think with just Realm of Horus, with how experienced some of these teams are, I don't think you want to see any second seed. I think there's not going to be much of a massive difference that you're going to see between 1 and 2, as we kind of saw last week with JST and VITA being so close. So, yeah, every team that's going to be advancing into these now knockout stage round of 16 is everyone's going to have to bring their A game. Everybody's have to bring their A game. Everything matters. All of your moves matter. Everybody needs to be sharp, from your provisioners all the way up to your garrison rally leads.
And GG's to both teams here. VITA winning the match, making it to the round of 16s, and A818 with a valiant effort, but their Osiris League run for season 8 ends here. We have the MVP being to VITA at 356k individual points. You could see the breakdown here. The arc scores and the occupation scores obviously being super favored to VITA, although 1818 did try their best. The kills actually being pretty even here, and units healed. VITA did have to heal more, but they did end up getting a win. So GG's to both teams. Dirty Dan, do you have any final words for the chat here as we start to go and prepare for the 15 UTC match?
Buckle up, because all these matches as we continue in are going to be so good. I'm super excited for round of 16 and for this for any of this Osiris League coverage. So yeah, very much looking forward to our next slate of matches with 1846 WIB and 1718 to jump back on with you, Plotto.
All right, so be sure to subscribe to this channel here, the official Rise of the Kingdoms channel, if you want to watch more Ark of Osiris League content. And if you want more Rise of the Kingdoms content, hey, me and Dirty Dan are content creators as well, and our links are in the description, and we will catch you guys at 15 UTC.